Chapter 19. Josiah. Once showered, Josiah settled on the bed, drying himself lazily and moisturizing his skin as Ray entered, shirtless and carting a savory breakfast of eggs and toast with him. "Kitchen is cleaned. Here's your breakfast, my dear," Ray teased, placing the food on the side table before crawling into bed next to Josiah and relaxing with his hands behind his head. "You're not hungry?" "Waiting for you to get done. What kind of thing do you want to do with your followers? You want to pick a specific topic to talk about, or you want to talk about anything?" Josiah latticed his fingers as he spread the creamy lotion over his hands and arms, tilting his head at Ray's question. "Either could work. If we did a specific topic, what would you want to do?" Ray shrugged. "They're going to ask about us. You already know, even if we do any questions, they're going to ask the most questions about what's going on between us. So should we feed the beast then?" Ray chuckled. "If you want. You don't mind them knowing about us?" "Nah. We've done several shows, a whole TV interview, and more. It is what it is at this point, huh?" "Yeah. I just want to make sure it never becomes too much. I mean, you know you don't have to do this if you don't want to, right? I can take you off my socials, and you can just be the ominous boyfriend." "I could, but we started this being open, remember? We started for mutual gains, so it would be weird to switch things up now, but we can keep some things private too. Just because we're out there doesn't mean we have to tell everything about our lives." "True. What happens in between the sheets is only our business. I'm not ashamed of anything we do together, but our bedroom practices don't have to be up for discussion. Whether you bottom, I bottom, or we don't even do penetration, it's not something we have to answer for anyone." "Okay." Josiah smiled, drying his hands on his towel and reaching for the plate of food. He placed it between them and picked up a piece of brown toast, nibbling the corner. "I'm going to put it up then, and we can start after we eat." "Sounds good." Ray took a piece of toast after him, loading his triangle of toast with fluffy eggs before biting into it. He ate half of the food available, and then left the rest for Josiah. The meal wasn't huge. It was enough to push off Josiah's hunger, but not enough to have him heavy with sleep again, and when the plate was empty, he set it aside and eased into Ray's arms. They were both shirtless, and Josiah rested his head on Ray's shoulder as he set up his cell phone for the event, adjusting the lighting and angles once they popped up on the screen. Ray looked delicious, as always, but because of their different skin tones, Josiah had to make adjustments to the lighting. When they were appropriately lit, people joined the little chat, and he greeted them. The conversation started with the usual pleasantries as the chat room swelled from 50 people to 100 to thousands and tens of thousands. When they hit 50,000 people, Josiah officially started the question and answer session. "Okay guys. So we won't be on here long, but we wanted to hop on and do a little question and answer session to break up the day. If you saw my post a bit ago, I asked what kind of questions about relationships you might want answered. Neither one of us are experts, but we can talk about our experiences, at least. So, I got so many questions from you guys, and there were a lot of variations of the same questions, so I narrowed them down a bit. The first question is, how do you deal with best friends who aren't supportive of your relationship?" Josiah looked at Ray before giving a hollow laugh. "Well, I guess we're not starting off easy, are we?" Ray chuckled. "Guess not. I can answer this one." He leaned forward, sweeping his lips along Josiah's jawline, which had the chat exploding with heart emojis and love eyes. "If it's your best friend, then I'm going to say what no one wants to hear, but you should probably listen to what they're saying. If it's a fringe friend or a friend you don't know real well, then I wouldn't worry about it." Ray shrugged. "People will always have their opinions, but if you like the person you're with, then enjoy being with them." I hope that answered well enough. Josiah smiled. "It's perfect," he murmured. "The next question is about jealousy. Generally, how to deal with it." "All you," Ray teased, rubbing Josiah's shoulders. HMF. Jealousy is a weird emotion. It's not really just one thing. It's a lot of things, but for me, when you unpack why you're feeling jealous, it can be narrowed to feeling shame or humiliation about something. Like if you're jealous because your partner talked to another person, then that's all on you to unpack and figure out why you're jealous of it. Josiah bit the inside of his cheek. It's something I've been unpacking too, and I've learned I usually feel jealous when I feel inadequate, but it's also not your partner's job to fix your jealousy if your jealousy is unfounded, you know. Josiah's lips tugged into a smile. Ray stroked the backs of his fingers over Josiah's bare skin, soothing the little bit of anxiety that had cranked up and rattled his words. Josiah glanced down before offering a smile to Ray. Next question. A few more, then I want you to myself. All right, well, Josiah chuckled, the next one is yours. I don't have much experience with it. How do you deal with it when your partner wants to have less sex than you do? Ray lifted his eyebrows, and a little color shined on his cheeks. It was imperceptible to the viewers, but Josiah saw it. Ray cleared his throat. Well, I mean, there's only one way to deal with it, and it's to adjust your expectations and take care of the rest of it on your own. I mean, think about it from their point of view. Our whole society is founded on having as much sex as possible, and if you're not interested, it's okay, but we have all this stuff on how to get more interested rather than stuff on how to calm yourself down. True, Josiah murmured, tilting his head. The answer stunned him. For a man who had as much sex as Ray, he didn't expect such an accommodating and thoughtful response. Not only was it understanding, but it was also full of a surprising amount of awareness, and it made Josiah respect him more. It also made him want him more. Knowing Ray would never pressure him into anything made his appetite for Ray voracious. I can give you some tips for calming yourself down when you're horny and your partner isn't in the mood. Ray smirked. Masturbating is always a given. Somewhere on your own time. There's nothing wrong with solo pleasure when you're in a relationship. There are some men out there who think the only time they should nut is when they're inside someone, but when you decide those things, you put an expectation on your partner. Oh yeah, you do, Josiah agreed solemnly. Yeah. Ray kissed his shoulder. So basically, masturbate, take a cold shower, whatever. If what you're really wanting is closeness with your partner though, you can have it, but it doesn't have to be sexual. I'll tell you something. When I learned the difference between sexual and sensual, my sex life changed for the better. Those are two things you shouldn't confuse with each other. Someone in the chat is asking what the difference is, Josiah commented. I was getting there, Ray laughed. Sexual is your obvious stuff. Grabbing asses and dicks and tits or whatever. Sexual stuff is just fine, but for most people, it's not going to make them feel wanted and happy, if you know what I mean. Sensual stuff is what makes your partner feel wanted and happy and content, and sensual stuff is different. Sensual stuff can be as simple as eye contact and a little touch. Your relationship should be full of these kinds of touches. Now I know your secret. Wasn't a secret, but we're about to get off here so I can have you to myself. Josiah giggled. Okay. One last thing though. Everyone in relationships, I have a challenge for you. When you're sitting around with your partner during this pandemic situation, instead of only touching them when you want sex, try touching them at random every hour. Say y'all are watching TV. Just lean over and kiss their shoulder every so often. That's my challenge. Just for a week. See how it changes your relationship. You have given my followers homework. Yup. Ray smiled. Josiah studied his smile before shaking his head and turning back to the live video. You heard him, guys. You all have homework, and I am being dragged away for who knows what. You know what? Josiah suppressed a little grin as he ended the video feed and placed his cell phone on the counter. I know what. Yeah. Come here. Ray dragged Josiah close, roping his arms around his torso and nuzzling into his neck. I never expected you to be so cuddly. Should I apologize? No. It's a welcome surprise. Josiah laced their fingers together. What do you want to do? I want to relax with you. Not everything has to be planned out, you know. Ray kissed Josiah's neck, browsing his lips across his skin and spreading goosebumps down his body. I know this, Josiah murmured. So, we're just going to relax then. MMHM. Relax and talk and enjoy each other's company, Ray confirmed, sliding down in the bed and taking Josiah with him. With his arms wrapped around Josiah's torso, he curled his body around him, back to chest. What do you want to talk about? We can talk about the questions your followers asked you. Ray kissed Josiah's shoulder. There's not much to discuss on my end, but I wanted to thank you for not pressuring me into sex. Josiah glanced over his shoulder, glimpsing into Ray's eyes. I would never pressure you. I'd rather spend hours just like this. Sex isn't the most important thing. Sometimes it feels like it. Yeah, it does. He kissed his shoulder again. Don't get me wrong. You're beautiful and so sexy, and I'm excited to be with you when the time is right. Josiah smiled gently, twisting onto his back. He ran a hand along Ray's chiseled muscles, around his sharp pecs and down his biceps. When the time is right. Ray shivered under his touch, muscles jumping under his skin. Yeah. When the time is right. He rubbed a hand across Josiah's stomach, sending sparks of pleasure through him, leaving his skin tingling. I want to try again. I'm nervous, but I want you. Nervous about what? Ray's fingers trailed along Josiah's sides, continuing his gentle, soothing touches. Nervous I won't be good at it, or I won't enjoy it. You don't have to be good at it. It's a learning process. We have to learn what the other person likes. Josiah bit the meat of his bottom lip, walking his fingers along Ray's forearm, down the curve of his body, and pausing at the band of his pants. His fingers traced it, and Ray exhaled a little moan. What do you want to do? I want to suck your cock. Ray groaned. Sounds like a plan. I've never done it before though, so you have to tell me what you like. Anything. I like anything you're going to do, Ray gasped. Anything but teeth, of course. Like don't bite me, because it hurts, but other than teeth, just seeing you on my cock is enough. I hope so, Josiah whispered, sliding his hand over the front of Ray's pants, finding his cock hard already. The first touch sent a thrill through him, and another moan from Ray emboldened him. He shifted in the bed, pushing Ray's pants down and fishing his cock from them. His fingers trailed over the solid ridge of Ray's cock, inspiring another moan from him. Yeah, Ray groaned, resting a heavy hand on Josiah's shoulder. Is this okay? Josiah wrapped his fingers around Ray's length and stroked him. Yeah, Ray encouraged. It's good. It feels good. With a nod, Josiah thumbed his fingers over the head of Ray's cock, then slid them down to the base again. He'd masturbated more than enough times to know what feels good to him, so he did the same for Ray. He gripped him in a tight fist and stroked over him slowly at first, but gradually faster. When his hand warmed, he leaned forward, hollowing his cheeks until spit collected on his tongue. Then he let it drip from his lips onto Ray's cock, tethering them together. Using the pad of his thumb, he rubbed his spit into Ray's skin. With more saliva, he slicked his hands and the rest of Ray's cock, and he stroked glistening skin with a tight fist. Oh, okay. Fuck, Ray moaned. Sexy. You keep up with that, and I'm going to cum. Not yet. Josiah's eyes widened, but he didn't stop stroking Ray either. He felt Ray hardening more and more as he jerked him, and soon it was Ray's pre-cum mingled with Josiah's spit. His cock bubbled with it. The head swelled, pulse throbbed, and Josiah's stomach fluttered. His own cock was hard in his pants too, but he liked the tightness and the constriction, and he enjoyed focusing on Ray instead. He enjoyed Ray's grunts and groans as he got closer, his murmured praises, the way he kneaded his shoulder. Can I suck you? The words tumbled from his lips, and he turned shy eyes up to Ray. Please, Ray grunted. Okay. Josiah's stomach nodded again, and he was dizzy with his own excitement as he lowered himself on Ray's cock. His tongue passed across the head, tasting salty pre-cum. Ray groaned. Yeah, baby. That's it. Josiah hummed, taking a little more of Ray into his mouth, until the head of his cock hit the back of his throat. They both groaned, and another thrill spiraled through him. Josiah, he moaned. I don't want you to come yet. He moved his lips over the head of Ray's cock. Ray's breath hitched. Then stop teasing me. I'm not teasing you. I'm playing with what's mine, right? Ray rolled his eyes. Yeah, it's yours. Good. Josiah chuckled and went back to licking him. At first he had been nervous, but as he continued, he relaxed into it, enjoying Ray in his mouth. As he continued, Ray's thighs trembled and his body shuddered. His hand had moved from Josiah's shoulder up to the back of his head, fingers curling through his short-cut hair. Ray didn't urge him forward, but each time Josiah lowered himself all the way down, his hips jerked, and his hand gripped the back of Josiah's head. Josiah's cock ached in its fabric cage, hardening a little more each time Ray gripped him, and each time he swallowed around his cock. Sweat collected on his skin, his cheeks flushed, he tried everything. He swirled his tongue around him, hollowed his cheeks, pushed him into his throat, and pulled back, and Ray melted into it, encouraging through guttural moans. Close, baby. Close, Ray's voice quaked. Josiah moaned but didn't pull away. Instead, he doubled down on Ray, laving his tongue over the pulsing head, begging for Ray's orgasm until he was rewarded with his hot cum on his tongue. The first burst of cum was accompanied by a deep moan, and the next waves of Ray's orgasm were accented with softer groans. Josiah swallowed him, letting his hot cum slide down his throat. His eyelids fluttered. This. He was shocked he enjoyed it so much, but there was something so primal about having his mouth around Ray. It drove him wild, set every nerve in his body on fire, and when he leaned back, he cleaned the corners of his pulsing bee-stung lips. You taste good too. Ray panted, curling his lips as he watched Josiah. My turn now? Can I take care of you? Yeah. Josiah nodded. I won't stop you this time. I promise. Ray tugged his lips into a smile and sat up, pulling Josiah into a light kiss. If you want to stop me, it's okay. You can. You can say no whenever you want, and I promise I'll stop. You've said, Josiah murmured against Ray's lips. His cock throbbed. He was fairly confident there would be no time for him to pull the plug on what they were doing. Just the thought of Ray's mouth on him had pleasure running all through him. Get yourself out for me. Ray's cock had barely softened after his orgasm, and his voice was husky when he commanded Josiah. It made his balls ache. Josiah collapsed back on the bed, obeying Ray's request and slipping his pants down. When the cool air hit his blazing skin, he whimpered. His need was exposed, and his anxiety spiked, warring with his excitement, but he didn't stop Ray from taking him into his mouth. And he was glad he didn't. When Ray's full pink lips wrapped around him, it was heaven, and he almost came right then and there. It wasn't just Ray sucking him either. It was the trust they had built up, everything they had started as a foundation. Ray had put up the 4 walls and the roof in the last few weeks. At this point, he was filling in the insulation, putting up the wallpaper to their perfect home. It was perfect too, and he let his eyes flutter closed. Ray was an expert with his tongue in ways Josiah could never have imagined, and his orgasm raced up on him, like a cord snapping in the center of his body. Ray dragged it out of him, along with ragged moans. He emptied himself in Ray's mouth, and Ray worked his jaws around him as he did, sending him reeling. Ray sucked him all the way through his orgasm and after, cleaning his sensitive cock before retreating with another groan. Fuck, Josiah whispered. That was amazing. Ray moved back up Josiah's body, kissing the center of his chest, his shoulder, and then the corner of his lips. I love how you taste. Josiah flushed. I like how you taste too. I like sucking you, and I want to do more. What else? Josiah licked his lips, turning his head and planting a kiss on Ray's mouth. Do you think we can order lubricant and condoms with room service? Ray blinked and his cheeks flushed rosy red. Yeah, I bet we can.